want you now. Your time has come. Now gaze deep into your mind. Well, some people are unkind, and I'm not really sure, I wonder why. They go to Golden Gate Park to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer, to drink beer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fullpint podcast. This is a show where we talk about current trends and topics in the world of beer with some of the most interesting, famous, and influential members of the beer industry. I'm your host, Danny Fullpint, co-founder of thefullpint.com. Today we are joined by the guys from Ghost Town Brewing, Justin and John. But before we begin this episode, we'd like you to know that you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as Amazon Music. If you enjoy the show, we'd appreciate it if you would help support this podcast and keep it free by taking a half minute to leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. Please follow us on social media platforms at The Full Pint. Now let's welcome to the show Justin and John of Ghost Town Brewing in Oakland, California. How's it going, fellas?
Yo, what's up? Doing good.
What's going on?
Right on. Hey, very glad you could join us. Lately, it's been a lot of just my pal Andy and I talking about beer, but, you know, our fans are like, you guys need to have some actual brewers on, some people actually in the beer industry. So I have a short list of people I really want to talk to. You guys are on that. Glad you could join us. So before we jump in, I wanted to tell a funny story. Back in 2018, the Full Pint was riding high as a beer website media outlet, and I came up with this horrible, great idea to do, I think it was 11 collaborations to honor our 11th anniversary. We did a collab beer at Fieldwork in Berkeley with Alex Tweet and our friend here, John. One of the greatest times in memory for the Full Pint. John showed us all around the Oakland, the Bay Area for craft beer. Had a great time, and then, you know, the whole world fell apart shortly after that. And, you know, we missed out a couple of years of beer festivals and all that. And, you know, we weren't doing collabs. We weren't throwing parties. And I show up at Firestone Walker Invitational to do my little DJ thing for them. And I go, okay, let's go talk to Ghost Town. They're like the hottest new brewery out there. Let's go talk to these guys. And boom, I bump right into John. And I go, what the hell? And here we are, small world. John's now, you know, at Ghost Town. So I guess I'll open the floor up right now. Justin, John, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Go for it, John.
Well, my name's John. I've been brewing beer since fucking 2010 and don't see any reason that that's going to stop.
All right. And what I mean, I know in a brewer your size, you probably do everything, but what would you tell, LinkedIn or somebody what you do for Ghost Town?
I mean, it's mostly whatever needs to be done. Like, typically what I do is run the day-to-day operations, just making sure that the beers are being brewed, dry hops are happening, cone dumps and all that. And just try to keep Justin from getting mad at me, which I recommend most people do. Like, make sure your direct supervisors aren't getting mad at you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just try to keep the ship going straight here while Justin handles a lot more of the bigger pictures and make sure that the hot combinations that we have in our beer keep winning awards and keep bringing smiles to all of our lovely customers.
Fantastic. Justin.
Yo, hello. Justin Burdt. I'm the director of brewing for Ghost Town. Been in the beer industry for over 10 years as well. I've been with Ghost Town for 8 years now. Yeah, I was one of the OGs with this company. I started back when we were on the 1-barrel system down the street from where we currently are now. From there, we got up to a 15-barrel system, and then from there, we organically grew into a 30-barrel system. So it was pretty cool. 8 years ago, we were only doing about 400 barrels a year, and now we're doing 15,000. But yeah, my ultimate role here is I started off as pretty much the only brewer and helped build the whole beer program from day one. So that's kind of what I do now. I run the beer program, like John said, all recipe development, all that. Help manage the team, because when I first started, it was me and one of the owners, and that was it. Now we have 45 people employed here. So, it's been a learning curve for all of us, as much as I just would love to just be up there brewing beer and messing around with ingredients and stuff, you still have to manage everybody. And the challenges of growing like this is how do we keep that same quality with everybody, teaching everybody. So that's kind of what I try to do. And John really helps me do that, is just make sure everyone's doing everything the way we want it done to keep our product at a high level. But yeah, ultimately, recipe development, all that fun stuff, trying to figure out 2 years from now, how will we still be relevant? Those fall on me for the most part.
8 years. I was going to say 5 years max.
Yeah, no, I took a risk for sure. I was at another brewery making decent money, and I came over to Ghost Town with promises. I got some ownership in this too and all that with that, but took a gigantic pay cut, like a 50% pay cut. But I, everything about the brand felt right. I'm a metalhead too, played music for many years, toured, did all that fun stuff, and got along well with the two owners. And I don't know, the vision and they also let me have full creativity. Our owner Ryan at no point has said no to any ideas I've ever had. So he just lets me flow with it. And I will say, yeah, in these 8 years when I started, West Coast IPAs were ripping, and then they kind of fell off. We never ever at any point stopped. We have driven to continue to make West Coast IPAs good and popular, and try and change the pace. We're every year, every brew, we're rethinking West Coast IPA kind of, we have what we consider is the best, but it can always be better. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that we stuck with West Coast IPA through all the hazy crap. We still make hazies, but we're well known for that. It's 70% of our production is West Coast IPA, and I personally take a lot of pride in the fact that that's what we bang out, and that's what we're known for. It's what we truly are passionate about too. They're a lot harder to make than people think they are. Good, at least.
Have you ever thought of how you could at least rib the owner and come up with something that definitely wouldn't work to see if he would say yes?
I have. And we had a deal where if he asked me to make a fruited seltzer, I'd quit, and if I offered to make a fruited seltzer, he'd fire me. But we're now. We're throwing around the ideas of bringing some silly things in like that. Not that we need to, just more. Let's not be blind to what the consumer wants and all that. But like we have no issue selling West Coast IPA. Our tap room's packed. I really do feel like we have a high quality product here. But no, it's kind of. I think the only thing he shoots me down for are beer names. But we kicked off that channel multiple times. But no, it's a cool relationship we have. It's he trusts what I kind of want to do, and we have a team that can execute it. But again, we're traditionalists here. We're very hops, yeast, water, malt, just kind of keep it real. But if the day were to come for us to make a seltzer, I'm sure we'd make a decent seltzer and do all that. Not that that day is coming anytime soon.
Green Cheek makes a decent seltzer. It's pretty funny. It's like their lavender lemonade, and I'm pretty much anti-seltzer as a product at a brewery. But anyway, I don't want to go down that road.
Make a lot of money making them, but yeah.
So Oakland, right? I still, this is my high level thoughts on Oakland is you can give a $4,000 1-bedroom apartment, but also worry about your car getting broken into. How is that going as a community that attracts beer drinkers?
Go for it, John.
Well, I think part of it is every community is filled with beer drinkers. But like one of the nice things that we have here is we have like a very robust local community where just people that live down the street are constantly coming in. The crime is everywhere in the Bay Area, and it's not just limited to the Bay Area. It's throughout California. I'm sure there's similar issues down south, but honestly, like it hasn't been that bad around here because over in West Oakland, we're not really a tourist area per se. We get folks that come by the brewery and you'll see them bring their like luggage as they're heading to or from the airport. So we still do get tourists, but it's like mostly more like locals that live in the area and stuff that will like bike in or walk, or if they park their car here, they know don't leave anything in it because you'll come back with $1,000 bill for glass and whatever was in it gone. I really don't think it's that much of an issue. It's one of those things that's easy to blow up from the outside and be like, oh, crime, crime, crime. But like around here, like haven't had a problem. I've had issues with my car parked around other breweries, but never had an issue in West Oakland.
Right on. And again, this is from an outsider's perspective, so that's kind of why I wanted to know. And Justin, you mentioned that, you know, the heart and soul of Ghost Town is the West Coast IPA. You guys are famous for it. What was your inspiration way at the beginning where you were like, okay, this is the style of West Coast, or this is the style of IPA that I want to make and drink, and I think that people will be that interested to make you guys famous?
Sure. I mean, originally, you know, I was home brewing about 13 years ago, and I'm fortunate to be in the Bay Area the whole time. So, big Russian River fan. You know, we got all those goods. I could drive 30 minutes and get fresh, drawing a blank right here. Their IPA, not Blind
Blind Pig?
Blind Pig. Thank you. So I would drink a lot of Blind Pig. Honestly, that was I would say some arrogant bastard from Stone, but you know, it was kind of just, it was those beer. I wouldn't say there was one beer individually. It was just, I liked the bitterness, the cleanliness. You know, I could eat 6 grapefruits a day if I wanted to. I'm into that kind of stuff. You know,
Black coffee.
yeah, exactly. Oh yes, please. None of this light shit. But yeah, you know, those were kind of like a starting point. And then the brewery I got my feet wet in was also pretty West Coast forward, you know, and I learned a lot there. But yeah, I mean, I'd say.
Can you name it?
I will name it. They're rest in peace, but Black Diamond out of Concord, California.
Okay. All right.
I spent about 4 years there. I left a good 2-3 years before all the shit happened, you know, and that's why I came over to Ghost Town. But no, you know, I'd say a lot of knee deep beers probably also influenced me. With John worked prior, but you know, it was kind of back then. You know, I would just go to a bottle shop, buy whatever hoppy beers I could, and just drink them and dissect them the best way I thought I could. But you know, I've learned a lot over the time. Like back then, you know, I didn't know jack shit. You know, there was just a couple online forums for homebrewers, and that's even challenging because a lot of homebrewers don't really know what they're talking about, even though they pretend like they do. So there's not a lot. I didn't learn a lot there. I had to get into professional atmosphere and just be surrounded by the ingredients, and then from there you just start chasing a flavor, you know, and that's kind of. I think that's what it came down to. And it took me a few years to hit that flavor. I didn't even know what it was, but you're just waiting to find just how it, like the sappiness, how it hits your mouth. Where does the resin touch your tongue and the top of that? How clean does it wash away? What do you want it to attenuate at? You know, do you have a pH that balances out your hop load? You know, all these things. And along with that, we started getting advanced products and all these other things, you know, along with that. But, you know, the goal for me was to get a dry, flavorful, dank, bitter, crispy West Coast IPA. Not like a malt forward one, but like get that balance of IBUs, the attenuation, and all that. And you know, it took time. It took time for sure. But I feel like we have a good approach to it now, and we use a couple cool techniques that we can go into later if you want. But back to answer your ultimate question, I would say it was a combination of Russian River beers, knee deep beers, and Stone beers that kind of got me excited into the IPA realm, and then we kind of just kept going from there. Oh, sorry, can't forget Lagunitas, even though they weren't bitter enough. That was definitely a big one that we would drink 15 years ago, you know, all the time. I wouldn't consider that an IPA to today's standards, but you know,
right,
what it is.
Right. Well, and so I had a question. I'm going to jump ahead because I had this written down. I feel that there's a discrepancy or a major contrast or a noticeable contrast between Northern California IPA and Southern California IPA, which you could then call San Diego style IPA. And I kind of felt the spirit of your, you know, the Ghost Town IPAs, the West Coast IPAs lean towards the Southern California style. admittedly, I haven't delved into your catalog yet, and I just thought that the Northern California IPAs, like you mentioned of yesteryear, like Lagunitas, Russian River, were a little more dialed in or balanced while still being hop expressive.
Yeah.
Would you say your current lineup is what I would consider a San Diego style, or is that
Yeah,
incorrect?
no, not at all. I think I've had plenty of the San Diego beers. It's I think that's honestly everything is going in all directions at this point, because there's definitely San Diego brewers making Portland style IPAs, and there's Portland brewers making San Diego style IPAs, and we're kind of just sitting here. I would say we are closer to the San Diego style if you ever go up and down the full coast kind of thing. But there's definitely some breweries in San Diego that are aggressively bitter or not bitter enough. So, to be blunt, I think there's only 3 breweries off the top of my head that still make that kind of like what San Diego was known for back in the day kind of IPAs. But we would probably fall in line with that. We like to go heavier with the sulfates, which is more of that was a San Diego thing, get that crispness. But we do definitely focus on hop flavor, hop aroma, hop texture, not just crispness, dryness, maltiness. Like malts don't matter anymore, right? That's, you just need a backbone to let the hops do their thing. So I don't know if that's really answering the question, but I think we have like the hop expression that you kind of get from up north, and then we have the dryness, crispness, biteness that you get from down south that makes it easier to drink a full pint because you attenuate and all that stuff. Like I love Portland IPAs, but 2 of them and I can't drink anymore for the rest of the week because
Sure.
they're too sweet. While
Sure.
San Diego IPAs can be really, really dry and attenuated and sometimes lack character, lack body, then you're drinking seltzer water type shit. Or bitter water. So we're trying to get the in between, right? Like I want you to come in here and put down 4 pints and not even think about it and be blown away by hop aroma and hop flavor. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but
no. Yeah. Do you guys have your own house yeast, or using something similar to Chico, or do you use the same one for all your IPAs?
Yes, we do. We have 3 strains that we run in house. So all of our West Coast clear beer is just White Labs 001. We use juice from Imperial for our hazies, and then right now we're rocking the good old 3470 from DSI for our lagers and our West Coast pilsners. We go back and forth on our lager strain, but no, we are married to White Labs 001, and no plan on changing it ever.
Right on. John, you may have noticed that in the last 2 years, people are using the term West Coast IPA synonymously with clear hoppy beer, to where, people maybe in Wisconsin are making a West Coast IPA, or, something like Iowa. How do you feel about the wide adoption of the term?
I mean, I think in general it's good. In practice, it doesn't always work out kind of the same. Like I lived in Chicago many years back, and over there, everyone was obsessed with Two Hearted Ale, and so I would try it whenever I could, just because I didn't grow up around it. Grew up with Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, but every time I would have it, I was just like, man, not it for me. I'm glad that people love it.
Right.
That's all everyone's prerogative, but it's definitely it is kind of thrown around a lot. But I think it's also one of those hard things that, like, if you're not in an area where you get a lot of it, even getting that shipped to you from across the country, it's not going to be quite the same as getting it like really fresh. And like where we're at here, we were mentioning San Diego and Portland, like the whole West Coast. We ship beers around and people ship beers to us. So we've kind of cultivated a little community of West Coast beers and breweries that like we're able to constantly trade beers and try them. And so we're getting to see what other people are doing, and they're very good and very fresh examples. But, if you're in the Pacific or the Northeast, a lot harder to get those fresh examples all the time, and to have kind of the same development of community around to kind of drive and push that a little bit further. So then it can kind of stunt your ability to like make what we perceive as like really good West Coast beers. Not trying to say that it's not good West Coast, but it's just not what we might be looking for necessarily.
Right. Well, it's interesting. There's a friendship between North Park Beer, down in San Diego and Human Robot, and Human Robot's a lager house first and foremost. They have a couple IPAs on their board, but they're essentially doing traditional lagers. And with their friendship with North Park Beer, they're trying to get some crispy hoppy beers on tap. So it's real interesting to see it, develop. But to your point, there's not a lot of other offerings in the Northeast for people to say, okay, here's a style I didn't know I liked. Now I'm going to go try it at other places, and they'd probably be very disappointed.
Well, and part of it too, it's kind of what the market wants. Like Justin had said earlier, we kind of carved a niche for ourselves as like a West Coast brewery. So people come here and expect it. We still have hazy IPAs on tap. We have a bunch of lagers and we have some hoppy lagers too. But like if people didn't want West Coast beer and we just want to keep making Westies, then we would be in trouble. If the community wants something different, then you got to kind of always let that dictate you to what you're going to make, because you're not making any money, then you're not going to be making beer for very long.
Right. How is your sales for hazy versus, West Coast? I mean, I'm sure you make more West Coast, but at the end of the day, you can ring up your system and say, holy shit, somebody or our customers really love this one hazy we just made. Maybe we're not thinking this through.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, our West Coast IPA, we do a lot. Like we do 150 barrels plus a week of it, and they're pretty much sold out before they even get packaged right now, which is, we're lucky for that. I do feel like a lot of that comes down to us continuing to never think our beers are better than anyone else's, or like just how can we always make them better is our approach. But we couldn't make more hazy right now if we wanted to. So we are actually maxed out with hazies as we are, because we have a couple tanks just dedicated to hazy. So, and they still have no problem either. It's like as much as I don't personally drink them, we still enjoy them and making them and dissecting them and learning about them, because it's still a hoppy beer when it's all said and done. And it can express some cool things in different ways. But our hearts just want us to keep going West Coast, West Coast. We're not going to be blind to anything, but the goal is like, hey, if our West Coast are slowing down for some reason, why? How can we make them better? Or what do we need to do to get back up there on the top to
Right
make
on.
people seek us out?
That's cool.
But that being said, like we have a bunch of fucking tanks coming in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and we're going to be upping our hazy game along with our West Coast game. So it'll be pretty cool. We're very excited for it. But we're fortunate right now, man. Like we've worked our asses off to get to where we are today. But there's a good demand for our product. While I know a lot of other people are, things aren't going so well. So every day coming to work, we're like, we're lucky. Let's keep the same attitude here every single day. We're not sniffing our own farts. We're sniffing our fucking hops and trying to see how they're going to work out best. And how are we going to make that next IPA better than the last? And I feel if we just keep on that path and never settle, we'll continue to reinvent it in our own way and just focus on IPA. West Coast, that is.
Right on. Do you think the IPA market is crowded, or it doesn't kind of matter for Ghost Town?
I don't think it's crowded because again, it's one of those. There are definitely a good amount out there, but I'd say 50% of them aren't really that good. So, and beer buyers see that, and but no, I don't think it's too crowded, because we still get hit up by breweries all the time that want to do some West Coast with us or learn a few things, and vice versa. There's styles we don't brew a lot of, so we'll ask questions. But yeah, just looking around, I don't think it's too saturated yet. Again, though, I'm not a sales guy. I'm not going to the bars these days anymore. We're just in here doing our thing. We're looking at the numbers on Fridays, and everything's still moving. But I think there's more room for a better West Coast IPA out there for sure.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I feel like I mention all the time on my show with Andy that even though it might feel like craft as a hobby, craft as a culture, and even as a business sector is on the down, the fact that you now can go to a baseball game and, God forbid, get a pint of Elysian space dust still puts the beer drinker in a better place than they were 10 years ago when your options were Heineken and Michelob Ultra. So it's like more people today appreciate good hoppy beer, and it's more accessible than ever now. There's still there's a big difference between a Ghost Town West Coast IPA and Space Dust. It's still in my opinion, the right direction for beer drinkers, that now their eyes and mouths are open to better things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to change gears right now. You kind of mentioned it earlier about some of your techniques, and I'm sure the answer is yes to this, but you guys are dabbling in the new hop products, stuff like cryo and hop keef. Let our listeners in on that.
Absolutely. So cryo is my personal favorite. It's not the newest by any means. It's, been around for 5-6 years, however long. But we love cryo. So our typical West Coast IPA dry hop will consist of 25% cryo, the rest T90. And then depending on the alpha acids and things like that, I like to try and get some cryo always into our whirlpool. But if not, then we'll be using some sort of hot side flowable, which is you got your Dynaboost. Big fans of that. We've used some Incognito in the past. And honestly, we also just use a lot of good old like CTZ resin. Same things like you can buy like at a homebrew shop. I think Snapshot was what it was called back in the day. But yeah, we definitely like to get a nice oil platform into our whirlpool just to kind of build I kind of look at it as a body, like using oil and saturation of that as a body to make our well attenuated IPAs not taste thin. But we've played around with a couple cold side flowables as well, like the Hop Keef, the Hyper Boost. We're getting some stuff in from Abstracts. Still experimenting with those. I'm not 100% sold on cold side ingredients like that, besides cryo. But yeah, hot side, anything that's kind of flowable, that's giving you some alpha and some oil, we're going to try out. And we found the three that we kind of stick to, and that's Mosaic Dynaboost, CTC resin, or Mosaic and Simcoe resin cans.
All right, folks, let's talk about Mind Haze. Firestone Walker's lineup of hazy IPAs that doesn't just blur the lines between reality and beer, they straight up obliterate it. You've got the OG Mind Haze IPA, juicy, tropical, and smooth enough to make you think, maybe I do love hazy IPA. Then there's Mind Haze Brain Melter, an Imperial Hazy IPA that comes in at a brain-bending 9% ABV, because sometimes sessionable just isn't in the cards. And if you're feeling particularly unhinged, Mind Haze Cosmic Crusher is here to push the limits of human understanding, or at least your tolerance for an absurdly juicy 10% IPA. What's funny about Melter and Cosmic Crusher, they don't drink like strong beer, which is good and bad. And then there's Mind Haze Rage Turbo Radler, a hazy beer meets lemonade hybrid that exists purely to confuse beer purists and refresh the rest of us. It's big flavor, low bitterness, and exactly what you want after pretending to be productive all day. Mind Haze. Beer enlightenment, no meditation required. But seriously, folks, if you haven't tried these yet, what are you even doing? John, do you remember back in the day, let's say the Hop Stupid era of IPA, double IPA? A lot of people would kind of throw shade at Lagunitas for using hop extracts. Do you remember those days?
Yeah, I remember very distinctly reading the label of Hop Stupid and it talking about having extracts in it and stuff. But I think it's just become a more common thing. It's once other people start talking about it, then it feels less forbidden. Like
Right.
even just when Vinny started talking about putting dextrose into double IPA, it's like, oh yeah, we can all say that because we're doing it for a very specific reason. It's not just like, oh, well, yeah, we're trying to do something to save money. It's like, no, especially when it comes to the CO2 extracts for hops, like we're doing it because it gives us great consistent bitterness in the level exactly how we want it. It has nothing. Well, there is a nice little benefit that there's some less plant matter in there, but that's not that's just like an added benefit. That's not the reason for using that.
And then what would either of you guys say to anyone saying these are cheat codes?
Anyone can use them. It's not a cheat code when it's like out there, like, and we're happy to talk about it, like Justin was saying, go to your local homebrew mart and you can get some CO2 extract hop resin, and you can add it into your beer and you can just elevate it. Like, I mean, if you want to talk about cheat code, like Mosaic's the biggest cheat code out there for making good West Coast beer.
There we go.
And everyone
This is
has
what I was
access
waiting
to
for.
it.
I needed something hot like that, and you just delivered it. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
So have you guys ever used some of these new modern hop products and it's gone wrong? So go back to the extract and the first generation kind of technology for hop extraction and whatever you want to call it. People would get heavy-handed by accident and totally bomb a batch of beer. Have you guys learned any lessons with some of these new products?
No, I think we've been using CTZ resin since I started working here. Like I was using that in whirlpools 10 years ago. So we already had a good idea of how to approach it and whatnot. And honestly, like 10 years ago, I would put CTZ resin into my homebrew dry hops, what's called hop dipping nowadays or whatever. And I hated it because it wouldn't wash off your mouth. Like I'm not a fan, honestly, of the resin in your fermenter because, again, it's a cool first impression, but halfway through that pint, once again, you're just like, you need a knife and you got to scrape that shit off your tongue because it blocks everything else. But I think just because I was trained personally on it, I'm sure John did a lot of it back in the day. Like we already kind of had a good approach to it and knew how to do it. And the goal wasn't to over saturate with IBUs or anything like that. The goal was just to elevate other flavors and, just make things bigger.
Now, I bought a 4-pack of the Highland Park collab you guys just did the other day, and I found the bitterness on that beer to be a throwback. Can you tell us about that beer?
Sure thing. John, you want to do that one? Or
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So that was brewed at Highland Park. And that was a really fun one that we did with them. It's they wanted to kind of take a ghost town dank approach to their style because they're very fruitier, softer. I think they got some killer IBUs. Like honestly, when we were there brewing with them, their beers on tap were phenomenal. Like I swear they're the best brewery in LA for sure. But like they had some cool bitterness, and just talking to them, they were bringing their IBUs up slowly but surely. And they found they've been enjoying their beers because you don't like just go like, let's fucking increase this by 20 IBUs. Like, no, you take it up 2.5, 3 IBUs at a time. So maybe a few people will be like, is that a little different? And only we know, and then if you like
Right.
that, then you push it the next batch. But yeah, big mistake to go in and just be like,
Crank it up by 20.
Right. But so it was cool though. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking, a couple days, just emailing back and forth. We had a whole meeting. And they really just wanted to take this more bitter, more dank approach to an IPA. And I think the beer came out awesome. I know there was some issues with a little bit of haze there, but it was probably just due to the excessive hops that we had to use. And
Sure.
So I don't drink with my eyes. If it tastes dank, smells dank, and finishes dry and with a nice bitterness,
It was one of the hoppiest beers I've had in recent memory. I just, it was because I'm used to that softness from Highland Park.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready for it. But nonetheless, I still, I devoured those 4 cans.
Oh yeah. I had one last night. It's tasting great, man. I was really happy with how it came out. I hope they are too.
Right on. So, outside of IPAs, what are you digging and what are the locals digging?
John?
Oh man, hard to say what the locals are digging, but I mean, we're always into lagers. I think the arc of craft beer swung back towards lagers in a very good way. And this past weekend, I was at Humble Sea, and they had a Pilsner Fest, which had lagers from all across America, and actually had some human robot Pilsner. It was very nice. And I mean, to me, that was just absolutely perfect. The weather was dog shit. But besides that, like just sitting outside, drinking some steins of lager, like that's just heaven for me.
Right on. Now, do you guys have any special lagering program? I mean, I know today's modern brewer can turn a lager around in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but do you guys have any kind of dedicated area to do any sort of traditional lagering, or is that just like a romanticized thing?
We do a 7-day lager. No, joking.
I mean, people do. I mean, it's funny,
Absolutely not.
but
I know they
R.I.P. Modern Times. R.I.P. They were doing that Modern Times Ice, I think, in 7 days.
Yeah.
No,
No,
we
but yeah,
have
go for
lager
it.
tanks and we lager our beers. Like right now, like the two flagships that we have is Inhume, which is our West Coast IPA, and then Geisterfaust, which is our Pilsner, and that's brewed in the same tank every time. We let it ferment slowly, then crash it over 2 weeks, and then we put it in a lager tank and let it sit there for like a month. Longer if we can. It just kind of depends on what other lagers we got coming down the pipeline. But it's nice having those lager tanks. We just we carb it as slow as humanly possible. And I think that those beers come out very nicely. Not trying to say that some of the quick turn lagers aren't also good, but I feel like there's a little bit of that je ne sais quoi that you get from taking your time with something like that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I agree.
And we dibbled and dabbled with like decoctions and all that. 'Cause our 30-barrel brew house is a 4 vessel, so we're able to go back and forth. And as much as we like them, we are still a production brewery, and we're trying to do 8 to 9 batches a week. So adding on that 4 hours to a day just wasn't feasible. But we were doing it. We wouldn't do it with our Pilsner because I think a Pilsner should still have that crispness and lightness. You don't need that extra malt sweetness into it. But we were doing it with our Hellas. We did some collabs with Humble Sea. We did some with Urban Roots where we did some decoctions. And those came out great. And honestly, I would love to down the road have a little more time to make some more delicate lagers and do fun things like that. But being a production brewery, your hands are tied slightly. But we are by bringing in those lager tanks, like John said, that allowed us to give our pilsners an 8-week pilsner from brew date to glass. So we
Right.
definitely give it the time that we feel it needs to round out.
Right. Right. So, next topic I have is kind of it's funny you guys mentioned at the beginning your 8-year-old brewery, which to me you're a 3-year-old brewery. And I mentioned to somebody here in LA about the collab beer you guys did with Highland Park, and the word out of this person's mouth immediately was, oh, that's a hype beer. And I thought about that, and that makes you guys rock the bell of the ball right now. What do you guys feel about the label hype brewery and the small window anybody usually has to have that,
Yeah,
title?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I try not to ever look at it that way or approach it that way. I think it's very nice that people would consider us hype, or that we're being looked at from the outside. But to me, we still just come in and do what we want to do and make what we want to make. And I don't know if I'm really, but I guess the one thing that's been nice about kind of getting known by other people is we're able to group people like Highland Park, and North Park, and other guys that have influenced me personally in some ways, and so we can talk shop and therefore better our beers into the next level. Yeah, I feel like we try and stay pretty humble around here, and I'm sure we have some employees that let it get to their heads, but me personally, it's no, let's just come in and let's keep cranking it out. Let's make this one, like I said earlier, make this one better than the last one, and that's it. I don't know, John, if you got.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just gonna keep doing it. It is cool because it does open up a little bit more pathways, but at the same time, I'd rather someone else be a hype brewery, because then that just means that there's more cool breweries out there. I think part of it, like you said, that in that club we were viewed as the hype brewery, but I'm like sitting there with the opposite side. I'm like, no, man, Highland Park's the fucking hype brewery in there, and because part of it is we don't get their beer all the time. It comes up here a decent amount, but uh, every time I see their beer, I always try to go out of my way to get some of it, because I know
Right.
it's fantastic. And it's, to me, I feel like we're just the brewery that always has a $3 cream ale on tap.
Did you guys were you guys invited for the next Timbo collab?
Not as of now, so
Okay.
we'll see. It would be cool. We'd love
All
to.
right.
We'd love the challenge, but
Do you guys get teased by Roger Davis for being the cool kids?
Everyone gets teased by Roger.
Yep.
Yes.
If he's not teasing you, he doesn't like you.
If
Oh,
he's
yeah.
not teasing you, he's mooning you. You know.
Pretty much. I won't
But
tell
this
you
is
my
a
first
this is
story
a
of anything,
family
but
show. Yeah, this is
Yeah. No, Roger is a great friend of ours. We see him probably once every other week. He was here last week. His keg washer went down, so he spent 2 days here just cleaning kegs, after hours on our washer and all that. But again, Faction's another one, man. When we were kind of getting started, we would go over to Faction after our shifts and just drink his beers and dissect them. And Roger was a fucking asshole to us and wouldn't talk to us because we weren't
It wouldn't be
cool.
Roger if he wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then we
And I'll
stopped
tell you, I
using.
love those beers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's one of the only ones still using C45 and C60 and can pull it off, And that's definitely one we have to always tease Roger about is his crystal malt. But hey,
That's so funny. Yeah, he can pull it off. And I can't think of anyone now that Bagby's out of business. I can't think of anybody else that's maybe, I don't know if Sierra Nevada counts, but
they're a little too big.
Yeah, a little
No,
too big.
but you're right. Like we can still. I'll go over there and drink 3 IPAs with C45 in it, and you're just like, these are so good. I don't think I could make it this good.
No.
If I were to attempt to do a C45 beer or something. So.
Magical. So
Yeah.
speaking of collabs, what kind of tool do you think they are in 2025?
Go ahead, John. Or yeah.
I think it's still the same way that it has been before. If anything, it feels like it's a little bit more collaborative. Like people are, like, we're always trying to see the other side, what any other brewery that we're doing with. Like when we were doing this collab with Highland Park, we had a very long meeting, and we're just like, this is how we approach things, and they're telling us how they approach things, and trying to find out how to make a beer that kind of expresses both, where they're able to try something new and we're able to kind of see something new too. And it's coming back from that, then we were like, all right, well, let's mess with, we actually started experimenting a lot with some of our hazy beers, trying to change things up, because that mentality of always trying to get better. And when you see one thing that someone does, you're like, that's cool. How can we incorporate that? Maybe not into the style that we're brewing with them, but into a different style and trying to make that beer better.
Right. Do you think it helps anybody sell an extra ounce or drop a beer, or is it really just for the brewers?
That's one of those things that varies. I've heard some breweries say that, like, that they will brew, more than one turn of a collab, just because they're like, oh yeah, that's going to have X brewery's name on it, and that will help push some sales. But it's just one of those things that varies from brewery to brewery. Like here, we're very limited on our tank space, so we're like, this beer is probably going to come out great, but we can only brew 2 turns of it because we have other obligations.
Right. So San Francisco Beer Week just wrapped up, or San Francisco Bay Beer Week. I'm not sure what the exact specific name is. Any takeaways or observations for this year?
Absolutely. First off, we're not in the guild anymore. We can go down that road another way. There's some issues with the SF guild, financial issues and things like that. So we chose personally to not partake in it. That didn't mean we weren't in the events and all that stuff. We just weren't invited to the gala. But we did a lot of fun events. Our sales guys were crushing out there. But I think, this is word of mouth too. We host what we call the West Fest, and we host it Thursday during SF Beer Week at our restaurant location. And brewers fly into town just for this event, and I think it's badass. We had 45 other breweries on tap that day, and it's kind of like it's West Coast or West Coast Pale Ale, Pilsner, West Coast Pilsner, IPA or double IPA. And we try and pick some of the best breweries that are making the best stuff. And you just show up. It's not a competition. Competitions are old. It's not you pay to get in. You come in for free, and you just buy the pints that you want to consume, and you get to try the breweries you want. But our restaurant was packed from 3 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And we rent almost all 44 kegs that we purchased on top of our 12 beers. Ran out. I think there was maybe 4 or 5 kegs still lingering around Friday morning.
That's awesome.
But yeah, dude, to me, man, that's like another one we take pride in, like West Fest. It's a West Coast IPA on the, and we're trying to showcase some of our best breweries that we are friends with, we've collaborated with over the last 5 years. So yeah, that all being said, I'm like, if you're going to do anything in SFB for SF Brewing, I would say come out to that one, because otherwise, Cellar Maker holds a really cool one too. But a lot of them are just kind of, I don't know. We drink all the beers all the time anyway, so we know everybody, and
Right.
like it's yeah, we got our own little issues with how the guild's being ran and all that. So.
Well, I'm, when in the shape that the beer industry's in right now, the craft beer industry, I mean, here in LA, there was a heyday for the LA Brewers Guild, and there was events, and everybody was rah, rah, rah. And now it's almost dormant. It's almost non-existent.
Yep.
And I can, if you can share what's going on with the SF beer guild, I know our listeners would love to know.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that still love it, and it does well for them. But I'll just say personally, they never really helped us out when we were starting off and all that. We didn't get much support from them. While we supported them, we hosted meetings for them. We gave free beer. We paid money. We brewed beers even for the guild that we got stuck with a $10,000 tab for somehow. And there's a lot of I've talked to a few other people that they just felt like the guild was constantly just asking people for money, for money, for money. And then they started enforcing these dues. And I think ours was going to be $2,500 for our volume. And we're like, we'll gladly pay the due if you can just let us know where this money goes. Because apparently the guild is over $100,000 or $200,000 in debt. I'm like, well, and then on top of that, the guild never promoted anybody. If you paid your dues and all that stuff, you still had to pay to have an ad up on their website. And the only good thing we ever got from the guild was the email chain where you can share ingredients, ask questions, all that. But I have everybody's contact in my phone so that I need that. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to talk too much crap about them, but they never helped us out, and they couldn't give anybody a straight answer as to where the money is going, where the money went. And, you can take a wild guess as to where the money went. So we decided to just back out of it, along with multiple other breweries. So there's a lot of breweries that decided to just ditch the guild this year for that reason. John, you probably could chime in on. I might have missed something, but yeah. Anyway, we've even joked around about getting like an Oakland guild or something, but that might be a little too much work. But
I just don't see the need in a guild at this point. You guys, you're all fighting to stay in business. Why would you want to buddy up like that?
Well, so that being said, another thing we take big pride in is we got listed. Oakland got listed as top 20 beer destinations in the country this year, first time ever. I don't think San Francisco's ever been listed, but like that comes down to a few breweries here in Oakland. And if we continue to stay pals and join forces, I would love to make more better beer. Like, people come to Oakland to drink good fucking beer, because I can think of 6 breweries right now in Oakland, Alameda, Berkeley that make awesome beer, and that's a day, 2 days of a weekend that you can just do that. And it's not like it was in San Diego back in the day. There used to be a lot. Now there's maybe 2 or 3 that I truly want to go to.
Correct.
So I think if we keep pushing each other or helping each other, because don't get me wrong, we still all talk on the side. We share secrets and stuff like that. But like, if Oakland's becoming known as a beer destination, all of us will continue to succeed together. And it's not about Ghost Town trying to own Oakland. It's not at all. Cellar Maker's doing good stuff. OP's doing good stuff. Tenma's doing great stuff. Faction's doing stuff. Those guys. And that's all this 10-mile radius. That awesome beer.
I guess I just don't see why you need the gill in that case.
No,
Look,
right.
You're showing me you're giving me a good reason why you don't. So.
Yeah, no, and you're right. At this point, what does it do? They couldn't answer the question what they do, and we don't know what they do. So yeah, all day.
So, all right, now here's a serious question for John. You want to go half on the Tornado?
Oh, yeah, if I don't have to put any money down.
Well,
Tornado is one of my favorite bars. It's a bummer that Dave's getting out of it, but I also get, people are getting old, and retirement sounds nice. I'd like Tornado, but if it was up to me, I'd probably rather retire to a beach than there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with all that.
Have you heard anything, like if there's anybody who's getting interested? I mean, I know we're on like year 3 of Anchor being closed, and it's like, I know things are always supposedly cooking over there in San Francisco.
Yeah, I haven't personally heard anything, but I also, don't go out to the city too often. But I would see someone wanting to take over Tornado before taking over a legacy brewery that's very large. I'm sure someone will come in, but hopefully they keep the kind of tradition alive.
Yeah,
I,
total institution.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. I'm not on Tornado, but on Anchor Steam. We've had multiple employees come from Anchor Steam that are over here, but there's continuous talk of like people trying to bring it back and revamp it. And my 2 cents is, if you are listening to this, like, trying to rebuild a dead brand, this doesn't work anymore. It's like they're gone. They're gone. Like, let's move on and like start something else and bring something new to the game. Because if Anchor Steam were to open back up, it'd probably be cool for 6 months, and then it's not modern anymore. It's this old stuff that, I don't know, nothing against Anchor Steam, but like they had their reasons for closing. But I think if you're trying to open that whole thing back up, it's just like the same people try to open up Speakeasy 2 or 3 times, and it failed every single time. It's just, when a brand dies, a brand typically dies.
I know, like Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is gigantic, has been passed around for the last 20 years.
But did they ever just stop? Was it ever just no Pabst Blue Ribbon?
No. It's just that nobody's been able to crack the nut to like make it more than they're trying to. The heyday, maybe back in the 70s or something, or 80s, was this fun, prestigious brand, and I don't think anyone's been able to get it back to more than a bottom shelf beer.
I will say Pabst makes one of the best THC beverages that I purchased, though.
I've had one, and they're good. They're clean.
They're good.
So that's fun.
They are nice. Yeah. So hey, kudos to them. If that's going to be their next moneymaker, I'll still drink those for sure.
I'm going to end with the last question because we're running out of time. Ghost Town has a Model 2 locations. You guys do California shipping, which thank you very much. And a little bit of local distro, according to my Googling, where looks like you guys might be at a Total Wine or something like that, or some bottle shops.
We should be at most bottle shops, Total Wines, Whole Foods. We're in pretty much all Whole Foods in California. We are stricklers, so if you're ever out in LA or anything like that and you see our beer on a warm shelf that's not a barrel age or a sour, please let us know, because we'll pull our beer from that account. But we're very, and that's, I think, another reason why we've kind of gotten to where we are, because we babied our beer and we've done self-distro from day one. And if beer is stored warm, we pulled it from the account right away, because last thing you want to do is try an IPA sitting on the counter for 6 months or 6 weeks warm.
Right.
But yeah, we're continuing to up our packaging game with cans. But I would say Whole Foods is your best bet. You'll always find pretty much, I think, Inhume and Geisterfaust are flagships. And then, yeah, I believe we're in a good amount of Total Wines, and then, a couple of specialty grocery stores in the Bay Area, but no Safeway, nothing, no Albertsons or anything like that.
So do you think that this multi-prong approach is the best way to do it, instead of just putting your eggs in just one basket, like just direct to consumer or just self distro? Or
I think it's because we want to grow and we want to expand. So, like, as we're building out, we'll be soon building out a new production facility with a 60-barrel brew house. So we're kind of looking at it as we're just kind of planting the seed, trickling it down, because we couldn't send LA more beer if we wanted to. We couldn't send Portland more beer if we wanted to right now. So kind of, it's just like exposing, letting people kind of see where we are. But by having them at those grocery stores, it does help. People can just know they can go there. Because I'm not the biggest fan of people buying our beer and having it shipped down to LA, especially if it's summertime, because it's going to sit warm for 2 days easily, if not 3. So at least with the grocery store, we know it's shipped there cold, it's stored cold, and then it goes to the grocery store cold. So hopefully you're buying it at peak freshness, less than 6 weeks old and whatnot. But yeah, I don't feel like getting into the grocery stores. I feel like there's certain stores that can kill your brand, but like staying small, like Total Wine, Whole Foods, and things like that, they're still kind of focusing on craft beer more so than Safeway or Albertsons. Again, though, I'm not in marketing or sales, so I'm not really. Those decisions aren't totally mine. We focus on getting it into the package with the lowest DO possible, and then hopefully it goes to the right hands.
So is this new facility going to be in Oakland?
No, it's going to be in Alameda.
Okay.
So not if you're familiar with Alameda, it's not over by like Faction and Almanac. We're going to be on the other side of the island.
Okay.
But the place is beautiful. It's like, what, 45,000 square feet. They used to build boats there during World War II. So it's like 120-foot ceilings. We're going to be putting in a full restaurant there, and outdoor seating right on the water. Like there's boat slips just right in front. And it'll be great because, we're the place we're currently at. Like I said, man, we started off small here, and, we just throw fermenters wherever they fucking fit at this point. We got 3 different colored CO2 line. It's just like, it wasn't designed to get as big as we are here. Our water pressure can't even barely keep up with the volume that we're putting out. So it'll be nice to go to a place that we're building it out so everything can keep up with our flow and grow into if necessary too.
So will you guys make beer here in Oakland and in Alameda, or are you going to move it all to Alameda?
No, we're 100% keeping our Oakland spot. So nothing's going to change here. Honestly, it'll be nice because our Oakland location, we'll keep the 30 barrel brew house here, and that'll become more like R&D collabs. It's going to be our lager house, so we can start doing those more delicate lagers. So we'll be estimating doing 4 to 5 brews a week here at that time, and then we'll do all the big stuff over in Alameda.
And then I guess as far as the water profile, is there some differences or some considerations?
Nope, exact same water.
Wow, that's great.
Very fortunate there. And our water is awesome here. It's
That's
pretty
great.
much it's like a blank canvas. It's very soft, and so we just add some gypsum and some chloride to it, and we're pretty much ready to rock and roll.
Right on. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything that our listeners and viewers, if this makes the video, they should be able to follow to keep up with you guys?
John, you're more social media than I am.
No. I think we're on Instagram. Aren't we on Instagram?
Yeah, we should be.
You are on Instagram.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not on social media. No, I mean, yeah, I would just keep following us on Instagram, doing all that stuff. Keep eyes. We got a bunch of fun collabs. We're gonna be brewing this year, and to me, it's just always exciting because even though we brew the same beers every year, we'll repeat them 2 or 3 times. There's always different hops going into it because it's a different year. Like right now, we're so fucking juiced on our mosaics and our citras and everything. We're actually currently, like as we speak, we're brewing nose goblin right now for World Beer Cup.
Okay, great.
And the mosaic that's going into it is it's awesome. You know what I mean? So it's really fun. We do that, and you're just getting all excited. But no, just keep following us. Yeah, we'll just keep cranking out West Coast IPAs this year. One thing I am excited about is our clean barrel program. We've been building up inventory for the last 2 years, so we're hoping to start doing more smaller releases of barrel aged stouts, barley wines, and things like that.
Right on.
But yeah, that'll probably be the newest thing you'll see from us this year.
That'll be dope. Dope. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure, and we hope to catch up soon. We will be up at Firestone Walker Invitational. We'll bump into you. Both of you guys going to be there, hopefully.
I'll be there.
I'm going to be in Hawaii. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
not really sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sorry. That sounds wonderful. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.
All right. Yeah, thanks so much for having us on.
Life and you're gonna walk into the light. Well, don't you know that the reason for all life is the sun in the sky? I gotta stop wondering why. I had some stress, but it's gone. Didn't know what was wrong. Not really sure what we have to hide. Have to explain the need to get by. Is everyone dying? The dark side, you're thinking about night, and you're gonna walk towards the darkness. The light side, you're dreaming about life, and you're gonna walk into the light. The dark side, you're thinking about light, and you're gonna walk towards the darkness. The light side, you're dreaming about light, and you're gonna walk into the light on earth. the dark side at night. The light side of life. The dark side, you're thinking about night and you're gonna walk towards the darkness. The light side, you're dreaming about life and you're gonna walk into the light.